Hey everyone, how's it going? Elliot here, and welcome back to another video. This video is very cool. I am extremely excited. This isn't something that's been extensively covered on the internet, let alone on YouTube. In fact, I think I'm the first person to make a video on this. This right here is a single-screened Nintendo DS. Now, before someone starts in the comments going, well, the DS stands for double screen. Do you think I don't know this? Look, don't shoot the messenger, alright? This thing is a Nintendo DS with one screen, and I'm about to show you in just a second. But before we do that, this video has been sponsored by Sendico. Without them, genuinely, this wouldn't have been possible. Sendico have been supporting the channel for quite some time. They are a proxy service that allow you to buy things from Japanese sites such as Yahoo Auctions, Mercury, and however you say that one. Basically, it allows you to buy things in Japan where you couldn't previously. You need a Japanese address to buy from all of those sorts of things. So Sendico buy those things on your behalf, store them in their warehouse, and send you one package. It's absolutely fantastic. There are a very small amount of fixed fees per item that you buy, and I use them all the time, sponsored or unsponsored. I genuinely do. So big thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Please check them out in the link below. So without any further ado, let's roll the intro. So this thing was an auction, and when it started it was really cheap, and it went for quite a lot of money. I think I ended up paying almost £400 for it. So again, big thank you to Sendico. Genuinely, without them, this would not be possible. There's no way I can afford to buy these sorts of things. It ended up getting like 40 or 50 different bids put on it, and I just kept going because I knew that this would make such a great video for all of you guys, and it was Sendico's money. And yeah, look at it. Here it is. Does that look like a Nintendo product to you? What on earth are we looking at right now? Look, there's the charging port. There's a couple of connecting things there that you can unscrew. Very exciting. And then look, there's the Nintendo logo. This is an official Nintendo product. But what is it? I hear you scream. Well, massive thank you to Jamie. He is a Patreon of mine. He is someone who is very well known in the development hardware world, and he has actually been able to show us this working, because unfortunately, I can't. Why is that? Well, this thing is a Nintendo Zone distribution box. What is Nintendo Zone? Nintendo Zone was an access point. So the idea of it was that you went into a McDonald's, was actually one that was licensed, a Best Buy, or the Nintendo stores. You'd bring your DS and you'd be able to get downloadable content online. So previously, this was done in a different way. This was done by using these tiny little Nintendo cartridges, and they would plug into retail regular Nintendo DS's, and that would emit a signal. Now, the data was already on those cartridges. It was fixed on those cartridges. It couldn't be updated or changed. That was the way it was. And they released a bunch of them. I think there was almost 20 of them or something. And Jamie is on his way to collecting all of them. So he's been very helpful in providing me with all of these details. And they must have thought this is probably not the most effective way of doing this. So what they decided to do was strip back the DS in the next version, which was Nintendo Zone. So it was Nintendo Download Station, and now we're on to Nintendo Zone, which is what this is. And they stripped back the actual hardware, and they changed the software. So instead of having the dedicated fixed content on a cartridge, you had a cartridge which connected to a server using the Nintendo DS's, or at least whatever this thing is, hardware. It connected to a server, and then you could download the content from that. So it was all a very complex thing, and unfortunately those servers don't exist anymore. But using the Download Station cartridges, which Jamie has, he was actually able to take some footage for me showing what this thing would have done back in the day. So you can see that he is downloading a demo game. He's also downloading a trailer for a game. And it's a very cool little device. I mean, I can totally see why they would want to do this, and it would get people into the store when a new game comes out. They can make an announcement, people can go in and they can try it out. A very cool idea. So, as you can see, there are two ports here which are screwed down. This one is for an SD card, and unfortunately, there's no SD card in there. I don't know if that was ever used. Jamie said he doesn't know anyone who's ever had an SD card with theirs. But if you unscrew this little piece of plastic here, you'll see there is a game inside of it. Now, this game is that Nintendo Zone cartridge that I was referring to. And if we actually take a regular DS, you can see that you do not need to have this specific hardware for this to work. Now, here's what's quite cool about this. The second you turn this DS on, it will bypass all of the retail stuff and go straight to the game. Or at least, you know, the Nintendo Zone thing, whatever it is. You can see it goes straight into the software. And it's also upside down. And you should see in a second, this little screen pops up, which is obviously something that this cannot do because it hasn't got another screen. But we'll take a look at this in a second. So you can see there it says, cannot connect to the WLAN. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do on any of this. No buttons work or anything like that. So I was thinking, right, well, that's a shame. I can't really do anything with this. I can't show it working. All I can do is show the hardware, which I still haven't done, and I know I'm going to do that in just a second. But I was very wrong. Very, very wrong indeed. I thought, okay, let's take out that cartridge, which bypasses stuff, and see what happens. And let me show you what happens. So this thing is very bare bones. It has two LEDs. It has a screen. And that's it. Obviously, it has a charging port. It doesn't even have a battery. It's literally AC only. So let me just plug this thing in and see what happens. Hang on. Wow. Look at that. It's turning on. But what's that? It's upside down. Let's swap it round. That's why that thing was upside down before. Here we go. Is that not the DS loading menu, just in Japanese? That is the DS Home Menu, the Dsi Home Menu. Look at it. It's right here. It is literally right here. The regular retail Dsi Home Menu. What is going on? Look, you can access the shop, you can access the DS download player, you can even access PictoChat. You've got the settings. Unfortunately, there's no settings in here to change the language. All of the menus seem to be the same, besides there's two missing from here, and then there's also two missing from back here as well. So I don't know if this is a different sort of software, one that's like just got less things, an earlier build if you like, but it doesn't have a lot of things that the retail one does have, so I'm not sure. So where this thing gets slightly interesting is when we load a game. So let's load a game. Look at that. Animal Crossing Wild World Nintendo. It reads games. It reads retail games. It has no buttons to input into the system itself. It doesn't have a speaker. It doesn't have a top screen. It doesn't have a stylus holder, which is what I'm the most livid about. But look, it works absolutely perfectly. And the benefit of Animal Crossing is that you can play a lot of the game without the controls. It just uses the bottom screen to input into everything. So yeah, look at that. I'm playing a game on this weird little DS Zone thing. So I then started thinking, right, what is inside this thing? Is it some sort of custom PCB that has enough of a DS in it that it can read this game and do the things that this game requires doing? Or is this a DSi motherboard? So I recently did a repair on this Nintendo DSi, which is in a transparent shell. And it wasn't until I started looking at it and thinking, this thing is just a DSi. It is quite literally just a DSi that they have rehoused. If you take a look at this, because it's translucent, you can see there's a brick connector here and a separate PCB, which I've got right here. And if you take that away, look, you've got exactly what's left, and everything lines up. You know, you've got the cartridge port there, you've got the, you know, the input there for the AC. On this side, you've got the SD card slot. It's literally a DSi inside of a brand new housing that they've made specifically for this. They've removed the buttons, they've removed the top screen, they've removed the speaker, they've removed the camera, the microphone. They've just got the motherboard. I was also speaking to Jamie, and he's told me that there's a separate PCB up here in this corner. There's also something going on for the battery as well. It's like bypassing the battery. Jamie even said that it still has all of the connectors to add a screen in, to add the buttons in, to add the cameras in and everything. So It's literally just a DSi, but it is bloody cool. I'm going to go back home before Rossetti kicks off at me for just turning this thing off. What an absolute crazy thing. I honestly cannot believe this thing existed and I'd never heard of it or seen it or anything like that. They've clearly done this to cut costs. They cut costs by doing it via a server so that they could just update the server, the content on the server, and they wouldn't have to continuously roll out these cartridges with the downloadable content on them. They've cut costs by the fact that they're now just not using retail units and they're using a very stripped back version. I'm really happy that I have this in my collection because it is a very obscure little piece of history. It's a gorgeous little thing. It's like the size of a passport. I am really, really happy with it. Massive thank you to Sendico for sponsoring this video. Huge thank you to Jamie for all of the help making this video. If this video does well and people like it, let's shoot for 5,000 likes. If it gets 5,000 likes, I'll open this thing up on my second channel, Elliot Cole. That'll be up in the card. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.